All right. Hi, this is Atticus, and welcome to Railway Empire 2 Fundamentals Designs That Work. We are going to look at yet another approach that I think is kind of the way to do it. Okay. I think we finally arrived at this is the way to do it. And I'm saying that and smiling because I don't believe there is a way to do it. I don't believe there's an ultimate. I could do some clickbaity thing here and say, oh, the amazing, ultimate, perfect start BS, but that would be clickbait BS, and I don't do that. But I just did in a way because I do think that this is the way to do it. So I want to go back and remind you that we've done a whole bunch in this series. I think it's been, I pat myself on the back, a pretty good series of ways to design your systems to grow cities in Railway Empire 2. But I want to point out a couple in particular. This one here that I called Look Mall No Warehouses. And it was set up where there's direct delivery of every good directly into each city. And you can see they grow, they get super high satisfaction, they get it quickly, but it costs a fortune to set it up. Well, a small fortune. And then the other one I want to compare it to is down here, which is One City, One Train, which is the one we did in Charlottesville, Big Lick, and Norfolk. And it is beautiful. And it also basically uses no warehouses. Now, technically, it does. Technically, there is a warehouse in Charlottesville that we brought some things into and just let our city to city lines take care of that, right? So technically there is a warehouse here, but basically it's a no warehouse structure because if you could easily run trains directly in and not have the warehouse. Now, what I liked about this one, though, I will say, is it does use the warehouse for the second tier goods. So your level one goods like your sugar, lumber, grain, corn are one set. That's your one city, one train setup. And then when you get to your secondary, your level two goods, raw materials, which would be the milk and fruit and vegetables and salt, then that becomes, a warehouse is a great way to do that because you've already got your city to city lines grown. So anyway, what the reason I'm pointing out those two as I get to this new one is that we had a user do something I love, which is actually run tests and prove what we're thinking about anecdotally. So he actually ran tests to see how this one compared to this one. So let's take a look at that. So the user I'm talking about is EWJAX. I'll just call him Jax. So Jax wanted to compare One City, One Train with the Look Mall No Warehouses. So this comment, if you want to read it, it's on the Look Mall No Warehouses video. So there's a link up here to the whole series. Just go find the one for Look Mall No Warehouses, and you can find his comment quite easily. What he did was he set up in sandbox mode, he set up the One City, One Train structure and ran it. And then he started over and set up the Look Mall No Warehouses structure and compared the two. And it's beautiful what he did. Here's the results of One City, One Train, which he calls rural loop. For One City, One Train, here's the total lines he had to do, how much traffic jam, how much track he had to lay, how many stations, how many platforms it took. And then he ran the Amazon Prime, he called it, which is Look Mall No Warehouses. It's a good name for it, Amazon Prime, because you just get things, you order it and it comes and directly to you. And you can see what he did for that. Now, the summaries are very interesting. The rural loop is much easier to set up, no surprise, and much cheaper too, also no surprise. But the data is what I like. Fewer platforms, 12 versus 24. Fewer locomotives, 10 versus 22. Less track, 2,021 versus 2,500. It's 500 miles of track. That's quite a bit less track. The Amazon Prime or Look Mall No Warehouses gets a bit faster initial fulfillment and therefore faster growth to 50K. Both of them will keep you in the high 90s fulfillment and remain there all the way up to 50K for these cities. And the Amazon Prime or Look Mall No Warehouses definitely get you there faster. And that's, again, not surprising, but it's nice to have it confirmed. And then he said, okay, and this is great too. He said, okay, well, let's go past 50K because we don't stop there. So can these work and set it and forget it? And this is really useful information. The rural loop or One City, One Train stalls at 70 to 80K. The Amazon Prime or Look Mono warehouses stalls at 140 to 170. This is so useful to know. If you want to do quick, early, easy, fast growth, rural, this One City, One Train is beautiful. If you want to build, if you need to have your cities grow bigger without a lot of oversight, then the Look Mono warehouses is going to be better, right? And then he went in and kind of cleaned up the rural loop a little bit and added some trains to it. And then it goes up pretty easily and effectively up to 130, 140K. So all this makes perfect sense. It just fits in logically with what we would think about if you know the game pretty well and you know how these two setups are done, you can see how this works. And these results are consistent with what we would expect. So as I tried to send this to him in a comment, and it wouldn't work, but it passes the smell test, right? So this seems like good testing to me. And you can see they're both very effective. But it made me think about, well, okay, we're playing this game, and I'm playing this in Sandbox with unlimited money. And most of us are playing this game, we're trying to do scenarios, we're trying to do missions, whatever. We're trying to do the DLC, including, by the way, the new DLC they'll come out soon, very, very soon. How do we do it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the way I would suggest we do this, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're going to call this design a great start. So a little bit of hyperbole, but I think it is a great start. So first thing I've done, I went back and kind of restarted with the same map, put our headquarters in Bangor, because that's kind of where we were on the other map, and said, okay, if we're in Bangor and we want to set up our system, what are we going to do? So I just set up just 3 lines of passenger and mail. So we have the standard setup. In Portland, Maine, we have a restaurant and a post office. In Bangor, there's maintenance and a post office, restaurant and post office in Quebec City, and maintenance and post office in Montreal. And we've got 1 train, dedicated express here, 2 here, it's a little slower, 1 here. Okay, so we've got just basic service, something that did not cost a whole lot to set up. It is double tracked. We do have the special buildings and the maintenance buildings, but it should give us a good revenue stream from passenger and mail. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and add in One City, One Train, the way I think of it as a great start. So I'm going to build the basics of a great start and walk you through that. Okay, I've set up a great start. So what we're going to do here is recognize that we would be starting out a scenario or a mission. We wouldn't have much money. We're going to share track. We're not going to have dedicated track passenger and mail. We're going to have our setup, as we've already discussed, our regular passenger and mail lines. But now we're going to add the freight and share track. And the main thing about this is, again, it's just like One Train, One Line in the sense that we have a sugar station, lumber, corn, and a misname right here. This is actually grain. There we go. And what we're going to do is set up the trains to go out to all of those. But the addition here, the change, is that we're going to add a warehouse to any one of these. We could have picked the corn here, the grain, the sugar, whatever, or even a spot, kind of a centrally located spot in and of itself. I really like having it here, though. So it's combined with the lumber. So now we have this station is lumber, salt, plus the level 1 manufactured goods, the meat, beer, cloth, clothing, planks, and liquor. So all we need to really exchange our manufactured goods is just 1 line that goes, say, Portland to the warehouse, a freight line, and then one train from Bangor to there. and one train from Quebec City to there, a freight line. And I want to make sure I did that one from Bangor. A freight, yes, good. Okay. And one line from Montreal to there. Now, all four of these cities are set up to exchange goods. Now we can just do our one train, one line, as if none of that existed. Now, I've also set up cattle line going into Portland, priority cattle, if you can grab lumber, fine, to Portland. Got a wool line, single train going to Bangor for the cloth. We've got a cattle line here going to Quebec City for the meat. And we've got a single train here running out of track one, running full grain to Montreal. So when we do our Montreal one train, one line, or one city, one line, we will not need to add grain in there. We've already got it covered, right? And I've got two platforms here. I didn't do a shunt line because this is a very short line. We'll probably only ever run one train, possibly two, but there shouldn't be any issue with it. And if we do add a second train, we would add a shunt line just to make absolutely certain we didn't have the case where the run fulls were holding back all the other trains. Okay, so now we just need to set up our one train, one line, just like we usually would. So let's just start down here in Portland. We'll go sugar, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now this is not going to be a super fast line because of this nature of getting over here, particularly to the grain. So at some point, once we had some money, we would cut this off. We would either run directly Portland over here like this, or probably, since we're going to eventually add milk, which is right in here, maybe run a line like this that kind of cuts across and shortens it a bit. So this one's going to be, remember, we want a 56 frequency when we set up one train, one line. So a freight line with this, 56 times 2 would be 112. That's about right. Let's do 3 and make sure. Go. All right, now let's set up Bangor. They can start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we could consider, actually, I'm thinking about this, not adding the lumber on any of them. I think we'll stick with adding it for now. But if you see what I'm saying, the lumber could easily come back to each city along with the manufactured goods. In fact, it will. And in fact, we're just going to do that. We're just going to make it this, sugar, corn, and grain. So you're only going to get sugar, corn, and grain. And you're going to run in 72 days. 2 trains is going to take care of that, right? Then we're going to set up Quebec City for grain, corn, and sugar. Grain, corn, and sugar. And I'm actually, I should have named these anyway. This should be Quebec City L1 raw. And 53 days, one train will actually do that. Interesting. Okay, we'll see about that. It should be just fine. And that line that we set up for Portland should be this guy here. Let's think about that again too. Let's take that pass off. That's going to shorten it. Let's name it Portland L1 raw. And now it's 95 days, so 2 trains will do. Okay. And then let's go to Quebec City. And we did one there, which was Oh, we've already named it raw. Okay, good for us. And did we do Montreal? I don't think so. Grain, manufactured goods, and passenger lines. So no, we haven't. So let's go, skip grain. This is just going to be corn and sugar. And freight line with the train, 60 days. We'll give it a couple, make sure it's running. Okay, so now we've got our one city, one line train set up to bring in raw materials. Our city-to-city lines have been replaced with city-to-warehouse lines. We've got our city-to-city passenger lines going. And we should be good to go. Why don't we say take off, and let's watch this thing run now. Here's corn going to Montreal. It's going to take a while for some of these to get out of here because we've got even the passenger lines haven't run yet, so they've got to queue up. I'm just kind of curious to make sure I've got all the signals straight. Just to make sure everything will indeed run. It should be fine. Okay. And look at this. Quebec City's already growing. Bangor's declining. But we've got meat on the way. We've got beer on the way. We've already got 4 of the items. Look at this. They just got corn. I have grain on the way soon, so we should be looking pretty good here. Look at this. Montreal's already growing. Portland, Maine has several items, has beer on the way. Should be looking good. So you can imagine we can run this as soon as we get other industry opportunities. We'll put them in appropriate cities, like maybe the clothing in Bangor, for example. The probably maybe a sawmill in Quebec near the lumber. Well, actually, Portland would be better. Sawmill in Portland. Then we could put furniture. Well, whatever would come next here. I'm forgetting my supply chain. We got clothing and planks. We've already got the first 3. All we need is liquor. Decide where to put liquor. Probably Montreal, close to the fruit. Since we already used those, then we'd have to get sugar over there. That'd be a good time to maybe think about our direct line. So look at our growth here. It's at 92.7, 83.4, 82.6, 66 here, and it'll catch up. And so we're looking really good here. So this is working great. I'm going to go off and let this run to 50,000 and to 40,000 when we start seeing industry opportunities, and we'll look at it again at that point. All right, we're back. We have already hit 40,000 here in Montreal. We've hit 40,000 in Quebec City. We are at 35,000 in Bangor with 95% demand satisfaction. Portland, we're at 33 and growing nicely. Now, one thing to consider here would probably be the lines hauling the manufactured goods, right? See how that's Portland. How in the world could Montreal be out of beer? Okay, so like lumber isn't coming back here, and they're ready for veggies and milk. And that's the other reason we're not getting 100%. We're ready to go into the level 2 phase of this and add some more products. But what I wanted to point out was that getting enough stuff back, since this is on lumber, and that's one of the goods you need, and you need 2 other things. You need, at the beginning, you're going to need whatever you're not producing. In other words, in Montreal's case, meat and cloth. plus the lumber from there. So you've got 3 items you want to bring. So we really want to treat that as a demand of 3 and have a frequency of 18 on that line that goes out there. So we would look at this and say an 18 from here, to have an 18 frequency, see, we don't have that. We're short a train, okay? So if we add a train, we'll do a better job of getting everything coming back, beer, meat, and lumber, which will help Montreal grow more quickly. So we would want to think of an 18 frequency on all those city to the warehouse lines. So the one going to this guy right here, we would want an 18 on this. It's good out of Quebec. It's certainly good out of Bangor. And let's just see how it looks in Portland. Portland to the lumber, salt, etc. would be 20. It's good. Okay. No, it isn't good, is it? It needs another train. Okay, good. All right, so yeah, we'd want that 18 frequency. And as we add new products, now we're going to add new products. So we would have wanted to start out with that 18. And then now we're going to add some products. So we're going to actually add something else they're going to need to bring back, right? So if we add a couple of products, if we add, we said liquor here, maybe lumber's going to go here, clothing here. So the next, the next 2 would be liquor and something else, as in dairy. And dairy would be a good one to put in Quebec City. So now we've moved to level 2, kind of our raw materials, where we want to get the milk and the veggies and the fruit. And we're actually, we could have done that even a little bit earlier. So how do we want to handle that? Well, I would say the same thing. Let's set up trains. Let's set up trains that have, a connection to each of those products, and then set up trains that go to each of those products. And salt we've already covered, so we just really need the milk, the veggies, and the fruit for each of these 3. And what we can do, since they're all, and I have to watch this too, the maintenance, the cattle. I must have forgotten to put maintenance on this line, on this station right here. I sure did. Okay, shame upon me. Let's just make you a 0 and then reset you with a 1. Okay, now I'm going to go set up these 3 items, just add them to our system, and we'll set that up, and I'll be right back. Okay, now depending upon how closely you're watching this and what other things you have going on, one good cue for you to say, okay, it's time to add level 2. It's when you hit the 40,000 here. Because if we look at the growth, when you're going to need 35,000 milk, 40,000 is the veggies, and fruit's going to quickly come at 45,000. So you can just use this trigger to say, okay, they're at 40,000. That means they need 2 of them at least. Might as well give them all 3. And the worst thing that'll happen, absolute worst, would be it'll run once to the fruit without needing it. But by the time it runs the second tour, it's going to will have grown to the point where it's going to want fruit as well. So now I've just set up a line going, veggies, Montreal, milk, Montreal, fruit, Montreal, and made sure it was under 56 days. So we could meet a demand of 1, and done the same thing in Quebec City. Now we've got industries to place, and that could change. And I haven't run it for Bangor or Portland, but if we look at Bangor and we were really paying attention, we could say, 35,000, that's when it's going to need milk. So why wouldn't we go ahead and go milk, Bangor, and we can go ahead and add veggies. They're going to be very soon, and we'll add fruit, even if we have 1 wasted run. And now we're set up to have our level 2, and I'm going to call this one, should have named the others as well, but I'll call this one Bangor L2 Raw, okay? And it says it's 154 days. That's because everything it has to get is way over out there, right? So I'm going to confirm that line. And now we're going to do what we hinted at doing. And we've already got it kind of started. So why don't we just come off of the milk here. And we'll just run a line kind of around this mountain. And we'll plug it into our system over here. In fact, if we did it up here, we came in right here. Now this fundamental is not about the track laying and track laying strategies and all that, but you can clearly see how just adding some track and shortening some lines can make everything be more efficient, and actually doesn't necessarily even cost you more money because the track costs are offset by the fact that I don't need as many trains running, right? If we go like this, and now we have this ability to go over here like this, that could even change our Montreal to Lumber. I suspect it's going to be taking a new route now. Let's just see. Montreal to the Lumber is, sure enough, it's taking our little shortcut now. So it'll be a more efficient line. See, look at that. Now it's only 26 days rather than whatever it was before. I'm sure it was a little more than that, but not a lot. Saved a little bit. But now let's look at that Bangor Raw 2. Bangor L2 Raw. It's still forever. Okay? So let us think about this. Would it be wise at this point to say, would we be better off running fruits and vegetables to the milk, letting the milk be a warehouse and holding the fruit and vegetables? And by the way, it could hold our next 4 manufactured goods, our level 2 manufactured goods. So now we would have 10 of the manufactured goods covered, plus all of the raw materials other than the specialty items that are only for manufacturing, like clay and coal and things like that. So this is where we might consider, given this particular setup with this particular circumstances and distribution of product, we might consider running the fruit and veggies into milk, into a warehouse. We'd automatically get the milk and then run lines from that warehouse to each city. And I think that's what we would do in this particular case. Now, if they were distributed differently, like the fruit and the veggies were more like this instead of way over here, then we would think about just doing a one train, one line kind of a setup and going out to each of the raw materials, right? But I think in this particular case, we would be better off with the warehouse here, and we're going to need that L2 warehouse eventually anyway. So I'm going to go set that up, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I set up a warehouse here on the milk, and the warehouse is set to take vegetables, fruit. Of course, it automatically gets the milk. And the next set of manufactured goods, the dairy products, furniture, and ceramics. And now, by simply having a train that goes from Montreal to this, one that goes Quebec to this, one that goes Bangor to this, and one that goes Portland to this, we now are able to distribute the level 2 raw materials, because I also have trains run full from fruit to the warehouse and from vegetables to the warehouse. So now all 4 of our cities are able to get what they need in that respect as well. Now, as we put new industries in here, we can go here and say, okay, let's put dairy in Quebec City, right? So we'll put a dairy industry in Quebec, and that means it's going to want the milk. Now, what we'll do here is make sure that the line from the Quebec City out to the milk has an extra train to account for the fact that we're going to need milk to support the dairy. All right. Then over here, we're going to put the distillery in Montreal. All right, and then we're going to have look at the line from Montreal, give it another train, just in recognition, if you will, of the fact that we're now supporting an industry there as well. So now let's go run a couple of trains. All right. Then, as we put these two industries in, we'll see what happens with that. So let's let this run, see how that goes. And we'll look at our industries and say, okay, we want it to support 4 cities eventually, and we can level it up. We wouldn't be doing this so quickly, necessarily. I'm going to run it up to 3 right now. And the same thing here with the dairy. We would run this up over time to match what we want to accomplish, and however many cities we're supporting and what have you. So we can let that run. So let's let this run for a minute. I'll go ahead and put a couple more industries in there, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. All right, so I've gone ahead and put lumber in Portland. We've got clothing in Bangor. We've got dairy in Quebec City. We've got alcohol in Montreal. They're all able to share amongst each other. They'll take more and more goods as the cities grow and the demand goes. Like Bangor right now has a need for all 3 of those now. So he'll start bringing back all of those, which will signal more activity out here. And he'll start consuming his own clothing, right, that he's creating over here. When he hits 50,000, then he'll start grabbing the lumber from Portland that's going to be going up here. And so all of them will kind of automatically grow everything they need. So I think this is an awfully good setup. Now, I think the other thing I'd like to do is just show you how easy it is to add another city to this whole thing. So let's just say we wanted to add Moncton up here to this process. I'm going to go set that up. I'll be right back. All right, super easy. Just had to run some track down here, connected into the ability to go both directions here to come into the level 1 warehouse and then go up out on the rest of the line, and then have a bypass that went this way to go on down to Bangor. A couple of express trains, a couple trains going to Quebec City, a couple trains Moncton to Bangor, and then a raw materials setup for Moncton that and I added the grain since there was grain close by. I could have gotten the lumber as well, but it's going to have to go here anyway. So grain, corn, and sugar, and then a line that goes straight, to this level 1 warehouse back to Moncton. And we can run this and see how Moncton looks. Moncton has grain, it has corn on the way. It should have lumber soon. It should have sugar soon. It already had some cloth coming up there. So looking good. Probably got cloth already here from Bangor. So looking very good, and it should start growing very quickly. So let's just let it run for a moment, just make sure. And we've added another city into our system. Now, when you do them like this, you're not totally controlling them to the nth degree. That's why the Look No Warehouses approach, or Amazon Prime, as Jax calls it, is really great if you really want to get on top of these guys. But look at this. We're already at 60,000 and 92% in Montreal. We're at 59,000 in growing. There we go. We hit 60,000 in Quebec City. And I haven't even, we can add a library, make it grow faster. We can add a library here, make them grow faster. We can add Bangor's already hit 50,000. That means we can give them a library. We're right on the edge. We'll end up giving let's give a library to Portland. So now we've got libraries everywhere, great city growth. This worked beautifully. I do see where I've forgotten a supply tower or two. Okay. And so looking great. I really like this approach. It's very clean. You can see it's kind of clean and neat. There's not thousands of pieces of track all getting on top of each other. And this particular part of any map, this is a tough map right up here. The St. Lawrence Seaway really makes it difficult here with the bridges, and there's lots of places here where this can be difficult. Plus, we got a lot of distance here, and we could still think about a line like Portland to Montreal direct to speed things up. It's got all these mountains. It's all good. It's all good because we got, look at this here. Moncton's already growing at 74%. And we can see it's got grain. It still doesn't have lumber. It's got the meat. We should have had an 18. Let me check that line from Moncton to level 1. Should be at 18 for it. See, it isn't fast enough. We'll get another train on there. Get a second train going out, and it's taking beer down and should bring other stuff back for us and help Moncton get everything it needs. And there we go. We've added another town. We've got 5 cities growing. It was very easy to set up. But I don't think we had to grow, not tons and tons of track. And we can see we've got, how much track did we use? We can look, I think. Yeah. Well, company value of 1.9 million. How much does it show us? Link? Yeah, 3,000 miles. Now that's route length. That's not telling us the actual track. But at any rate, looking good. I really like the approach. I think I think we'll look forward to doing something along these lines, if not exactly this, when the new DLC comes out in a few days. I'm looking forward to that. Hope you are too. In the meantime, if you'd like me to do something else with Railway Empire 2, let me know. I am thinking about doing a free mode game, maybe applying this to a free mode game. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you saw something that will help you become a better player. I hope you'll like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join us for our next Railway Empire 2 video. Thank you.